guys, I'm Laura Vitale. On this episode of Laura in the Kitchen, I'm going to show you how to make an absolutely gorgeous prime rib. It's going to have an incredible crust with salt, peppercorns, rosemary, shallots. It's amazing. But to get started, of course, let's go over the ingredients. You're going to need a nice fresh piece of prime rib. This is about 6.5 pounds. You're going to need some kosher salt, some coarse ground black pepper, 1 shallot, a whole head of garlic that I've peeled, extra virgin olive oil, and some fresh rosemary. Now let's talk about the piece of meat. Now prime rib is a pricey cut of meat, but I like to serve it just a couple times a year, and the one time I usually serve it is on New Year's Day. New Year's Day, my mother always made some sort of beef dinner or roast. She usually makes a tenderloin, a beef tenderloin. I crank up the heat by using a prime rib because it just feels super special. You know, it's a celebratory looking, beautiful cut of beef, and I just love it. So if you're gonna use it, just do it once in a while and make it right. So here, it's bone in. It's about 4 ribs. It's got a thin layer of fat on top, which is going to keep this really, really, really moist and delicious and give it great flavor. I'm going to sear this side. So what I want to do is take some paper towel and just pat the top of it that you're going to sear. Make sure it's really, really dry because otherwise it's going to steam and it's not going to create a gorgeous brown color that we want. And now since I'm making a salt crust to go on the top of this, I don't need to put salt or pepper on this. I just have about 4 tablespoons of olive oil in a large skillet over high heat, and that's what's going to be searing. That's what that's going to sear in. But you just want to make sure that it is nice and dry. And once the olive oil is really, really nice and hot, we're going to put it in to sear. Now that it's completely dry, we're going to put it right in here. And I'm going to let that sear for about 3 to 4 minutes or until it's got a gorgeous brown color. Now that is what you're looking for. Gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous. Now I have this on a rack in your roasting dish. It's really important so that the air kind of travels all around it and roast that really evenly. So now set that aside, and I'm going to finally chop up some fresh rosemary. So it's going to take a bit of time. It'll take a few minutes, but it's really important that it's finely chopped. I don't want big stalks, big pieces. I want everything to kind of combine and make a beautiful, beautiful topping for our prime rib. That looks good enough. Now I'm going to put this directly into my bowl with the kosher salt. And you want to make sure you use kosher salt for this. You don't want to use fine table salt. Now I'm going to add in some freshly cracked black pepper. And now I'm going to do this with microplane, but you can do this with a knife and just takes a little bit more time. I'm going to grate in the pieces of garlic and the shallot. And the reason why I'm doing it is because you see, you get almost a paste, and that is going to be exactly what you're looking for. So go ahead and do that. And you don't want to do the last little bit, otherwise you'll grate your fingers. So be careful with that. That's the last of the garlic. Onto the shallot. And this takes no time at all to just grate that right in. That's perfect. Whoops, don't want that. Now I'm going to put in some olive oil, about 3 to 4 tablespoons. You want this to be almost like a paste. And then just use a spoon to help you combine it all together. And add a bit more oil if you feel like you need to. That's the perfect consistency. Now I'm just going to evenly smear this all over the top of our seared piece of beef here. And you want to make sure you come down to the sides just a touch. Now, I think a lot of people are going to say, wow, that's a lot of salt. You know, you've got to remember, you've got a lot of meat here that you have to season, and also the salt's going to mostly fall off when you slice it, but what it does is it perfectly gives just the right amount of, it doesn't taste salty, but it tastes unbelievable, and the crust is going to keep it really, really moist, which is exactly what you're looking for after all, and especially when you are using an expensive cut of beef. And it perfectly seasons it all the way through, and it creates this crunchy crust on the top that it is just to die for. That is perfect in my opinion. Now you're going to preheat your oven to 500 degrees. You heard it right, 500. You want it as hot as it will go. And this is gonna go in there for about 30 to 35 minutes. And then you're gonna lower the temperature to 325 and continue to cook it for another 30 to 35 minutes or until the internal temperature, which is right in here. You'll insert a thermometer right in here. And until the thermometer reaches 135 degrees, they will be perfect. It'll be a gorgeous medium rare, which is exactly how you should make prime rib. Do not spend the money on prime rib if you are planning to cook it well done, because you will get something that tastes like cardboard. Prime rib is expensive, but it's meant to be eaten medium rare at its best. So 500 degrees, 30 to 35 minutes, 325 for another 30 to 35 minutes or until the internal temperature reaches 135. My prime rib roasted at 500 degrees for about 35 minutes. Lower the temperature to 325. Since mine is so big, it's almost 7 pounds, it needed about an hour and 15 minutes. But of course, if it's half that, which is about the normal size people get for about 6 people or so, then you only need about 35 to 40 minutes to get it to 135 degrees, which mine is. Now, I test mine with a thermometer like this, which you can buy at any grocery store, any kitchen supply store, and they're really inexpensive, and that always ensures that your meat is at the perfect temperature. Now, do not, as much as you are like dying to get in there, do not carve it until you have wrapped it with aluminum foil for at least 15 minutes, just to give the juices a chance to redistribute and get back in there and ensure everything comes out really, really juicy and delicious. But you know me, I don't have much patience, so I do want to cut just a slight little slice for you to see what you'll be looking for. Look at that. That is like perfect. Let me just cut a little tiny piece to taste. It is perfect. It's cooked perfectly. It's got a lot of flavor. It's really well seasoned from the juices from the crust, kind of dripping down as it roasts. It's perfection. I hope you enjoy spending time with me. To get this recipe and others, go to www.laureninthekitchen.com. And I'll see you next time. Bye-bye. I'm going to show you exactly how to do it by starting. Bleh.